What is a Romeo boot? How is it different than a Chelsea boot? What is a work shoe, and why would you want a Romeo boot? So many questions. We're gonna attempt to answer those questions by cutting apart this pair of Georgia Boot Romeo boots, and thanks to Georgia Boot for sponsoring this video. We've got a pretty fun April planned. It's the first year we're gonna do what we're calling Yeezy April, where we're gonna cut apart a pair of Yeezys every Saturday, except for this Saturday, because we ran out of time. We've got a really interesting Red Wing video coming out. We're gonna cut apart one of their new boots. NYX is releasing a new boot, and we got a wild boot from Ariat that we're gonna cut apart as well. So it should be a really fun April. So now let's go over the boot information. So the brand is Georgia Boot. The style is the Romeo Work shoe. The color is soggy brown, interesting name, but they also come in black, and it's all black. It's a completely blacked out boot, which is pretty sick. They weigh 1 pound, 6 ounces. They retail for $108, and they're made in the Dominican Republic. So what is a Romeo boot? Well, originally these were popularized, as far as I can tell, in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States because of how big of a logging area it was in the early 1900s. Because all those loggers, they used to wear those logging boots all the way up to their heel. And so at the end of the day, they didn't want to keep wearing their logger boots to the bar or around town. So they wanted something that was similar to a boot and had some of the attributes of a boot, but weren't this 15 eyelet lace-up boot that takes forever to put on and take off. And they wanted something a little more comfortable. And fast forward to today, people still use Romeos for that exact same reason, but also people use these as a light duty work boot, a backdoor boot, a boot that's a lot more breathable and a lot cooler on your feet. And a lot of people love these boots for trades where they're constantly going in and out of people's houses and they don't want to track mud all over their house. And this version I have is not a steel toe, but they do have some steel toe versions, which is nice for you guys that need a steel toe. And as for the difference between a Romeo and a Chelsea boot, it all comes down to the height of the boot. A Romeo boot is around 4 inches tall, about the height of a sneaker. A Chelsea boot is around that 6-inch mark that we see most work boots in. But people still call Romeos Chelseas and Chelseas Romeos. For instance, Georgia has this taller Romeo that most people would call a Chelsea boot, but on their website they call it a Romeo boot. So what makes this a work shoe rather than just a shoe? Well, the upper is made from a full grain chrome tanned leather that has tons of oils infused into it for extra durability and less maintenance. But more importantly, the thickness of this leather is 2.5 millimeters thick, which is double the thickness of most sneakers and right in that range of what you see in work boots. And it also has this rubber bumper that's sewn on and glued on all the way around the shoe for added protection and durability. And then if we move to the inside of the shoe, it has a moisture wicking lining to keep your feet dry. And the thing that really makes it a work shoe is that internal counter cover. Because we've all seen it with most shoes where after a little bit of wear, you start wearing through that lining on the inside at your heel. Well, this has an extra layer of a felted material that you'd have to completely wear through before you even start compromising the structure of the shoe. And the way that this shoe is constructed is a lot more similar to a boot, where it's Goodyear welted all the way around, and it even has a little bit of extra stitching at the toe to help prevent that toe delaminating from kicking it around. This Goodyear welt adds a lot more durability, and it allows you to take this to pretty much any cobbler, and they'll be able to pull this old outsole off and glue a new one on really cheap and really fast. Will you get 6 or 7 resoles out of this? Probably not for this price point, but you'll at least get 1 resole, which is 1 more than most shoes. And speaking of the outsole, this is a slip-resistant polyurethane outsole that resist abrasion, chemicals, and oils. And this is the type of outsole you see on most work boots, especially for like concrete work where you're standing around all day, because it is a little bit squishy. But more importantly, compared to sneakers, you have anywhere from a 1/2 inch to a full inch of sole to wear through before they need to be resoled. So let's cut this thing in half and see what else is on the inside and see if the insides are more shoe-like or more boot-like. Okay, we got it chopped in half, and I cut the wedge sole version, but it's the exact same outsole and everything. I just wanted to show you both versions of this shoe. So let's see what's inside. Toaster. You ruined the shot, bud. Let's try it again. So the biggest thing that stood out to me is the shank. Shoes almost never have a shank, and even when they do, they're mostly just a gimmick. And you can also see on the inside that it's a fiberboard lasting board, which is more of what you see in work boots rather than like the fabric lasting that you see inside of a Strobel stitch sneaker, because sneakers are more built around flexibility and lightweightness, versus boots are more for stability and comfort underfoot. And that's why you see so much foam in here as well, because underneath of that insole, you've got a layer of a little bit higher density foam with a really soft latex foam underneath. And then underneath the fiberboard, you've also got another layer of foam. And then the midsole layer that the welt is sewn to is a really soft rubber midsole. So a lot of squish underfoot. But the one thing you might notice is there's zero leather all throughout the sole construction. And that's because this is a $108 boot. You know, it's not too surprising to see that. And if you are gonna put some leather in a boot, you do want it in the upper, because it is a better material than pretty much anything out there for the upper. Whereas the rest of these materials, it is a lot nicer and more durable to have leather. But for $108, it's not out of the question. You usually see this in boots up to that $200 price range. That's really where Georgia has carved out a spot for themselves. You know, they're not trying to compete with those $200 to $300 boots. They're a nice entry-level boot that is still built like those more expensive boots, but the materials are more affordable materials. It's a shoe built the right way. It's not just a glued together shoe they're selling for 140 bucks. It's built the right way to give you as much durability as you can for this price point and for the materials afforded for $108. So let me know what you guys think and what your experiences are with these and what you use Romeo boots for, because it's surprising how little information there is on the internet about Romeo boots and the history of it. And thank you guys for everything you do. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, because that number helps us get these sponsorships that help pay for the more over-the-top videos and the silly videos and really make this channel really fun to do. So thank you guys, and thanks again to Georgia. See ya.